Welcome to Deck Analysis and Testing. Today we're looking at Cyber Dragon. Cyber Dragon was once a competitive OTK deck using Fusion Gate to make multiple fusions that could each attack multiple times, but that was a long time ago. After getting hit by the ban list, this deck is now a rank 5 strategy that only occasionally makes one fusion, and the deck is only mid at best. And for some reason, both Overflow and the Fusion spell are still limited to 2 to this day. So instead of relying on those cards, the build you see right now has other ways to win, including an actually good boss monster, Ultimate to Leo Utopia Array. But though other decks could make this card a million times easier using a single card like V Salamander, while this deck needs 3, so I don't know if that's a good place to be. Let's have a look at the cards. First off is, of course, our boy Cyber Dragon. This version can be obtained from the structure deck, so it's really nice. And next is Toon Cyber Dragon, because of the regular Cyber Dragon being an ultra rare from a main box, and if you're getting the structure deck, you can only get a single copy anyway. We are playing the Toon version to supplement the regular Cyber Dragon. This is not technically called Cyber Dragon, but it is a Cyber Dragon monster, because it's a monster with Cyber Dragon in its name. So yeah, for some cards, they need to specifically control Cyber Dragon, like the name has to be entirely Cyber Dragon, which is fine for most of the other cards because they treat themselves as the original Cyber Dragon, but Toon Cyber Dragon is not treated as a Cyber Dragon on the field. It is only a Cyber Dragon monster, which is a name that contains Cyber Dragon. Anyway, we basically use it as the normal Cyber Dragon and also can't attack the turn it's summoned, but yeah. Next is Veer. This card can be special summoned if you normal special summon a Cyber Dragon monster. Also, it gives your monsters a bit of an attack and defense boost. Next is one copy of a Dre. This is another level 4 Cyber Dragon monster, which we only play a single copy because you need to use a normal summon on this card, which you kind of don't want to because you usually use it on core if you have core. And also, if this card is normal summoned, you could make all Cyber Dragons level 5. And as you can see, it makes Cyber Dragons and not Cyber Dragon monsters, which means it doesn't affect Toon Cyber Dragon. Also, during the turn its effect, you can't you summon anything other than machine monsters. Also, if this card's banished, you can target one Cyber Dragon monster control, it can't be destroyed by battle or card effects this turn. Next is Cyber Dragon Core, normal summon core. This card, when it's normal summoned, add one cyber spell or trap card from your deck to your hand, and also if your opponent controls more monsters than you, if your opponent has a monster and you don't have a monster, you could banish this card from graveyard and special summon a Cyber Dragon from your deck. And also the effects are exclusive and hard once per turn. Next is Nuxter. This is a level 1 Cyber Dragon that could special summon itself by discarding another monster, and also if it's normal or special summoned, you could revive one machine monster with a 2100 attack or defense from graveyard, and also it locks you into machines for the rest of your turn. This is really good because it's a free summon. Next is one Zexal Weapon Tornado Bringer. Because we're playing Utopia Array, it's nice to have target protection for it as well. For the spells, we're playing one Reborn. We're playing one Overload Fusion, which allows us to fusion summon using machine monsters from graveyard. We're playing one Cyberlord Fusion. This allows us to fusion summon using monsters on the field or banish the zone. So if you want to clear opponents backward by making Rampage Dragon, you could grab Cyberlord Fusion using your core and then make your Link monsters or whatever, and then use your monsters from your field or banished pile to make your fusion monsters. But also, it only lets you attack with that fusion summoned monster for the rest of the turn, so you can't really attack with anything else. Next is 3 copies of Cyber Repair Plant. This is kind of a searcher, but it does require you to have a Cyber Dragon in your graveyard. But if you do, it lets you add any light machine monster from a deck to your hand. It doesn't need to be a Cyber Dragon monster. So, for example, if you're playing Master Duel, you could add the Galaxy level 5 monster or whatever that is, and it is searchable with Repair Plant. Also, you can target one like machine monster in your graveyard and shuffle that target to your deck. And if you have 3 or more Cyber Dragons, when you activate this card, you can activate both effects together as well. Next is Single Trap Cybernetic Overflow. This card is really good. It allows you to banish any number of Cyber Dragon monsters with different levels from your hand, face of field, or graveyard, and then pop the same amount of cards your opponent controls. This effect does not target, so it's really good at wiping everything your opponent has, and it usually forces your opponent to activate any sort of back row they already have, because they don't know which back row they're going to be popped. So also it has the second effect of if this card is destroyed by a card effect, you could add one Cyber Spell Trap from your deck to your hand. Historically, this card has been used as a OTK strategy, and you could use Storm to pop your own Cybernetic Overflow and trigger the search effect as well, but that was a long time ago, and Storm is now limited to 1, so we can't do that anyway. For the extra deck, we're playing a number of fusion monsters, including one Cyber End Dragon, and Chimeratech Over Dragon, and most importantly, Chimeratech Rampage Dragon. This will be the main fusion monster that we summon off of our fusion spells. It requires 2 or more Cyber Dragon monsters, and when it's a fusion summoned, you could pop spell or traps on the field up to the number of fusion materials that is used for this card's fusion summon. So at minimum, it's going to pop 2. And also, once per turn, you can send up to 2 Light Machine monsters from your deck to your graveyard, and this card can attack up to the number of cards sent +1. And for the Xyz monsters, we're playing one copy of Ultimate Leo Utopia Ray. This is one of the best rank 5 monsters to make turn 1, and it needs 3 level 5 monsters, which it's quite expensive, but what it allows us to once per turn detach from material to equip a Zexal weapon monster from your deck or extra deck to this card. And on turn 1, you will equip Tornado Bringer to give it target protection. On turn 2, you can equip Leo Arms from your extra deck to give it a whole ton of attack and push for lethal. Also, once per turn, if it's equipped with a Zexal weapon monster card, you could target one monster your opponent controls and negate that monster's effects and permanently reduce its attack by half, which is really good. Next is one copy of Cyber Dragon Nova. This is our main other rank 5 monster that's actually a Cyber Dragon monster. It needs only 2 level 5 monsters, and it can once per turn detach one to revive a Cyber Dragon in your graveyard. And also, as a quick effect, you could banish Cyber Dragon monsters on your field to boost its attack by 2100, which is insane. It gets to 4000. And also, what you can do is you can attack with your Cyber Dragons, and then attack with Nova, and you can banish the Cyber Dragon that has already attacked to boost its own attack, and a single hit from Nova to your opponent's directly on our opponent's life points will end the game. And also, if this card is sent to the graveyard by opponent's card effect, you could special summon a Machine Fusion monster from your extra deck. That's why we're playing Cyber End Dragon, because we can cheat this out using our Nova. Next is one copy of Leo Arms that I talked about before. It's just an equip spell, but you don't really actually summon it. And we're playing a single link. Just a single link monster. Pentastag is pretty good because it gives your monsters piercing, so you can make a Rampage Dragon in its link point, so it could pierce over your opponent's monsters. And also, it's just good as a generic link because you could link off your Cyber Dragon monsters and then banish them from a graveyard later using something like an Overflow. For the skill, we don't really have that much of a choice because the old skill is nerfed, so we're going to play a Cyber Style Evolution. At the beginning of the duel, you add Cyber Emergency and Power Bond to the bottom of your deck, and also twice per turn and thrice per duel, you can activate this effect to change Cyber Dragon monsters you control to level 5. That's why even though only the normal Cyber Dragon is technically level 5, and also, Toon Cyber Dragon, you could still make your rank 5s pretty easily because the skill changes your monsters to a level 5. And also it has a restriction of playing at least 12 Cyber Dragon monsters on your deck, so we're playing exactly 12. So yeah. Here is the expensive version of the deck. We are obviously playing 3 copies of the original Cyber Dragon, and we're also playing 3 copies of Naxter because this card's really good. It's free to summon, as I said. And we are also playing 1 Tornado Bringer because this deck doesn't really have a good turn 1. And we're playing 2 Overload Fusions to help us open with this card in our opening hand more frequently, because this card is pretty good to push for a game if we're going second. And we're playing a copy of a Rev system. This card is basically reborn for a Cyber Dragon, and it's searchable with core. And for the extra deck, we're just pretty much playing the same thing, but we're playing 2 Novas. If you have 2 Nova, you should play 2 copies, because your multiple copies of Nova is pretty good to push for game. So yeah, that's it. There's not much of a change. Let's have a look at the replays. We are in KC Cup, and we're going second. So let's see how oh wow, I don't know why. Anyway, let's see how well this deck goes. Our opponent is going to play Blue Eyes, and they're going first, and they're going to summon alternative White Dragon. And then normal summon a Blue Eyes, and then reborn the other Blue Eyes, and make a fusion. I don't know why they're doing that, but I guess it can't be destroyed by battle. When you want to summon a Toon Cyber Dragon, and then normal summon a Cyber Dragon Core to add Cyber Lord Fusion to our hand, and then we're going to summon the Noxter by pitching the normal Cyber Dragon and activating our skill twice to make our monsters level 5, and then we're going to make Ultimate Leo Utopia Ray. This card is really good going second because you can equip the Leo arms and give it a million bajillion attack. We're going to attack our opponent's monster, and that would have been lethal, but he has a trap, which lets him take no damage. But that's fine. He thinks he could, for some reason, banish my monster, but the effect is a quick effect, so we can still negate it during our opponent's turn, and both negate his banish effect and also reduce his attack so that he takes lethal. In our second game, we are going first. Let's see what we can do when we are going first. We're going to open with Coral. And, yeah, it's probably the best card we can open. So let's see what we can do. And one thing about Cyber Dragons going first is that Cyber Dragon can't special summon itself if your opponent doesn't have any monsters. So the Toon Cyber Dragon is just gonna stay on our sit in our hand, doing nothing. But we still have the trap, so that's pretty good. Our opponent is playing Ray Ratto, so we're going to summon 2 monsters, and that's the perfect opportunity to pop both of them. We're going to activate the trap, banishing the 2 Cyber Dragons in our graveyard, and then popping his 2 monsters, and he's going to end turn, and we're going to make the fusion using the 2 monsters that we banished to make a Rampage Dragon. And if our opponent has any set back row, we're going to pop it right now, but he doesn't, so it doesn't really matter. But we should be able to push for a game in this position. We'll just attack twice with the fusion, and that will be enough for a lethal. It is time for game 3. So we're playing the expensive version of a deck. We're going first, and our opponent is playing Shadow Game. What year is it? We're going to open with no core, which is unfortunate, but we still could search it using the repair plant that we have in our hand. We can special summon both the Naxter and the Veer, and then we could add a core to our hand and normal summon the core that we still have a normal summon this turn. And we're going to activate the skill twice to make 2 of our monsters level 5, and then we're going to make a Nova. And then we're going to activate Nova's effect to revive back a Veer, I guess, and then we're going to set a trap and pass turn. We're going to take a bit of damage from our opponent's skill, and our opponent is playing Stromberg. Okay, we have the trap, so it's not that big of an issue, presumably. We are going to be faced with a Princessin, which makes him a pumpkin carriage, which prevents the field spell to be propped. So we have to activate the trap now before he summons the carriage. And he will end turn with 1 set card. It should be fine. We're going to attack his monster and then use Nova's effect to boost its own attack to 42. And that will be enough for a lethal.